Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're in great condition while watching my video, and I hope my ideas here, the useful vocabulary and expressions, are beneficial in your IELTS preparation. I actually prepared 2 sample answers for this topic, so please read with me and do some shadowing. But before we do that, let's do some brainstorming first. The topic is you are going to describe a skill that you think you can teach other people. So when you get this kind of topic, you can talk about whether it's an academic skill or practical skill. Okay? So you are going to teach one skill only. So some of my students decided to talk about cooking skill because she is actually a chef. I have one student, she talked about yoga because she's passionate about yoga. Another student of mine talked about a skill in using a dialysis machine because she is a dialysis nurse. So she taught a newly hired nurse how to use a dialysis machine. Alright, so it can be any kind of skill as long as you can teach it to other people and as long as it's not off topic. As long as your answer makes sense, that's correct. That's okay. After all, the examiners don't care about your answer. They don't care what kind of skill you're going to teach. Okay? What they care most is your fluency, your ability to speak English well. So this is the complete topic. Talk about a skill that you can teach, other people. You should say what it is, when you learned it, how you can teach others, and explain how you feel about this skill. So let us begin. This is the first sample answer. Please read with me. Well, out of all the skills that I would love to share with others, I think sewing takes the cake. Actually, I'm not a professional sewer. However, I can confidently say that my sewing skills are really good. Although it's not my job, I can make different kinds of clothes. If my memory serves me right, when I was in high school, I learned sewing from my school, and it was really memorable. I was able to make socks and clothes for my pets. I think I can teach other people about it by sharing with them my patterns. When you make clothes, there should be patterns, and I have all kinds of patterns. So I think it's good. Honestly, I'm really proud of that skill, and there are many reasons why. First off, it's very practical, especially when my son's clothes are damaged. I don't need to bring the clothes to the tailor shop because I can fix it on my own. Secondly, it's economical, simply because tailored clothes cost an arm and a leg. That's why some people just buy ready-made clothes, because it's cheaper. Last but not least, I think it's relaxing, especially when I see my finished product. It makes me proud because I finally see my work. All in all, that skill is worth sharing, and if given a chance, I'd love to share it to many people. Okay, so let's review the useful expressions and vocabulary here first. So you don't really want to begin your introduction in a simple way. Instead of saying, I'd like to talk about, that's very common, right? You can use this kind of introduction. So out of all the skills that I would love to share with others, I think sewing takes the cake. So this is an idiomatic expression, which means remarkable. Okay? So try to use idioms because it's one of the technical requirements to getting 7 and above. Alright? So, and then if you're talking about the past, you can use this expression. If my memory serves me right. Even if you clearly remember it, it's completely okay to use this expression. Alright? You just want to get a good score in vocabulary by impressing the IELTS examiner about your wide vocabulary. Alright? And then, so what are the other words? Try to use discourse markers. Discourse markers are very important as well. Okay, it's one of the requirements in getting a good score. First stop. Instead of saying firstly, secondly, finally, yeah, you can use this first off. Okay, so I can fix it on my own, meaning I can repair it on my own. Secondly, so there. It's economical, meaning it's cheap. Now this is another idiomatic expression. It costs an arm and a leg, which means very expensive. Okay? This is a collocation, ready-made clothes. right? Instead of saying lastly or finally, you can use this, last but not least. And then conclude your answer. Don't say in conclusion because that's too formal. So you can use this one. All in all, that skill is worth sharing. Instead of saying if I have a chance, you can say if given a chance. All right? Now let's move on to the next sample answer. So please read with me and do shadowing. Okay. I'd like to talk about a skill that I can teach other people, and it is enhancing pictures using Photoshop. Photoshop is actually a kind of photo editing software that allows amateur and professional photographers to beautify their pictures. I actually studied nursing, so computer skills, especially Photoshop, are not included in the curriculum. However, since my mom gifted me with a good camera, I became interested in photography. To cut the story short, my friend who owns an event planning company invited me to shoot for a wedding. Because of that, I was compelled to learn photography, and I took some crash courses which eventually developed my skills. I think I can share this skill by making tutorial videos on YouTube. I think it is more useful since YouTube is so big these days, and a lot of people can watch my videos. I'm really proud of my skill, and there are many reasons why. First off, I can use it as a fallback. As I mentioned a while ago, I am a nurse, but in case I want to quit my job, I can be a professional photographer. Secondly, not everyone can be skilled in using Photoshop. I heard a lot of people complaining about the software, and to be honest, I feel sorry for them. Personally, learning how to use the program requires a lot of patience. Last but not least, my knowledge about Photoshop is something that someone can't take away from me. Although I love being a nurse, I love photography too, because I can express my creativity. All in all, Photoshop skill is indeed beneficial, and if given more opportunities, I'd love to share it with many people. Alright? So try to use a variety of connectives. Okay, so connectives are very important in getting a good score as well. So this time I'm using Photoshop. Okay, so try to give details about the main topic. So the main topic here is Photoshop. Okay, to beautify, so instead of saying to make the pictures more beautiful, you can use it to beautify. Okay, so yeah, try to use connectives, especially, however. Okay, to cut the story short, this is a good expression. Alright, so event planning company. So since we're talking about photography, then yeah, this is a good collocation. I was compelled, meaning I was forced. Okay, so I took some crash courses. Try to use adverbs as well. Adverbs make your answers stronger. Okay, so tutorial videos. YouTube is so big these days. It's another way of saying YouTube is very famous these days. So again, try to use these course markers first off. I can use it as a fallback. So in case you fail, yeah, in another job, you can use this as a fallback. Okay, so and then if you're trying to repeat what you've already mentioned, you can use this one as I mentioned a while ago. Okay? So last but not least, instead of saying finally, although this is a connective. Alright? So there. Now let's move on to part 3. Please read with me. Should teachers be funny when they teach? So I prepared 2 sample answers. Well, to some extent, I believe that teachers should make jokes. And it's simply because it can help students to be interested in the subject. Kids can avoid boredom or sleepiness if their teachers use humor. I think that it's more useful when kids are not interested in the subject. However, there should be limitations because making too many jokes can distract students. Okay, so 2 ideas. Try to use 2 ideas so that you can use connectives, such as however. Right? So, to some extent, you can also say at some point. Well, at some point, or to some extent. Okay, so these are the reasons why teachers should be funny, because the students can avoid boredom or sleepiness. And that's true, right? If you have a very boring teacher, you are more likely to feel sleepy. And now let's continue to the next sample answer. Should teachers be funny when they teach? Definitely yes. I think teachers should have a sense of humor because it can attract or motivate students to study hard. Although they need to be serious sometimes, I believe that telling a joke is useful because it's a good icebreaker. If students look sleepy or uninterested, funny teachers can help students to become interested with the lesson again. So this is an idiomatic expression, icebreaker, right? So something that can make the atmosphere better. All right, so it breaks the ice. So if it's ice, it's cold, right? So it's boring. Okay, now let us continue. What qualities should teachers have? Please do some shadowing and read with me. Well, I think that there's a bunch of qualities teachers should have. But I think the most important one is patience. And it is mainly because they will be dealing with different students who have different personalities. If they are impatient and they don't know how to control their emotions, it might affect their job and the way they treat students. As a result, they won't be able to teach effectively. Instead of saying there are many qualities, you can say there's a bunch of qualities. Right? So here, patience. The most important one, patience. Why? Because teachers deal with different students who have different personalities, and that is correct, right? If they are impatient, they won't know how to control their emotions. So this is a good connective as a result. Right? The second sample answer. I guess teachers should have a lot of positive attributes. But I think one of them is that they should be understanding. And it's mainly because different students have different personalities. If they don't understand their students, they might get annoyed easily. And worst case scenario, they might hit their students. Another quality that they should have is that they should be knowledgeable with the subjects that they are teaching so that they can share their knowledge effectively to students. Right? So you paraphrase, instead of saying qualities, you can paraphrase it attributes. Right? So another idea here is that teachers should be understanding. They should not get annoyed easily, right? Why? If they get annoyed easily, if they are not understanding, they might hit their students. What else? They should be knowledgeable. As the saying goes, you cannot share what you don't have. You cannot give what you don't have, right? So if your teachers don't have knowledge, they are not smart, they cannot teach effectively. Now let's move on to part 3. Which do you think is more important, practical skills or academic skills? You can choose one, like practical skills or academic skills, or you can choose both. So here I chose both. Well, I believe that both are significant, mainly because they're both useful. In terms of practical skills, we can use it in our daily life. For instance, if we know how to do some repairs, we don't need to call for a carpenter. We can save money and time if we know how to fix our house. With regard to academic skills, it's also useful in finding a good paying job. So I think both skills are vital. There. Paraphrase, important, by saying significant. Since I'm talking about two things here, I use linking phrases such as in terms of to classify your answers well, to classify or organize your ideas. In terms of, with regard to, okay, so try to use linking phrases. Now let's continue to the last question. Which age group is the best at learning new things? I guess the toddler period, which is around 4 years old and above, is the best time to acquire new skills. My reason for that is they're very creative and imaginative during that time. Aside from that, their brains are like sponge because they can easily absorb the information. So they should start learning new stuff during that time. So, yeah, toddler period there. Instead of saying learning new things, acquire new skills. So they're very creative and imaginative. right? Instead of saying because, that's only one word, extend your sentence, make your answers longer. So try to say instead, my reason for that is. Instead of saying also, that's only one word, try to say aside from that. This is a good expression. Their brains are like sponge. Why? Because they can easily absorb the information, right? So, new things, you can say new stuff. This is an informal word, stuff. You don't use this in IELTS writing, only in speaking. Okay? So, anyways, that would be all for today. Thank you so much. If you have any suggestions or recommendations, feel free to comment below. Thank you so much. Bye.